So by this point in time, we're approaching the 1 week period. I'd say this was like after 5 or 6 days after I fully accepted. I had already challenged myself socially. I had actually joined a. They were watching. I'll never forget. They were watching Balto, which is a movie that I hadn't seen in several years, and I remember watching on Disney Channel. It was right after Homeward Bound 2, and I just saw people in there. And at that point, I still had not embodied my Fursona. His design was created, but I was using Brent's design. But I joined in the call, and I found myself once again because I had been alone for a long time. My friends from Rhode Island had left. I literally had no friends in Rhode Island. And I ultimately came up with a decision that I had to get back out there. My dad made suggestions such as, I know I said I wouldn't talk about religion again, but such as a Christian group. And I was like, yeah, but that's not what I'm interested in my personal life. Another thing he suggested was the gym, which I might have to join the gym if I ever want to wear a fursuit, which I do. Now, like, I'm accepted there is, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do want to wear a fursuit someday. Uh, and one of the things I learned about, by that point, I had watched so many Finn the Jaguar videos and had started investigating other YouTubers that were, well, I was essentially learning how to be a furry, which was crazy because by that point I had just flat out accepted, no, you're going to do this. And I had kind of set the goal for Anthro New England in January. Although I'll tell you that coming up, but I had actually also noticed that there was a group of furries here in Rhode Island called the Rhode Island Furs, where I was thinking like, do I talk to them? And ultimately, drawing this kind of pushed me in the direction where like you have to go talk to them. And even though their events were always at 6 p.m. before work, I mean, during work, I noticed that they were having like a meet and greet in the park at 3 p.m. So now's the good time as any to tell you what happened to me that day. I had made connections with some of the friends in the Finn the Panther Discord. By that point in time, even though I had only watched Balto, I was text chatting. I was not chatting with the voice yet, but I was text chatting with some people that I felt that I made a connection with. And I ultimately made the decision I had to go to the park meet before work to just even see them. And turns out none of them were in their suits. I bet a lot of them were getting ready to go to Anthrocon. They did also have Furbowl that night, which I gotta say now that I'm part of their group, because yes, I did end up being part of their group. I'm very excited for Furbowl. I don't have a suit yet. I don't have a partial yet. I know that they could take one's even a partial, but that is sort of the plan. Like, and even like my plan was Anthro New England might be for Apocalypse now in Connecticut instead, to go there because that's how much into it that I have essentially gone in now. Uh, that day when I went to go look for them, I was looking around, and as I said, it turned out to only be a couple of them there. It was one of their. It wasn't an official meet, but I guess there weren't that many people there, and I was just so socially awkward. I was looking around for like 30 minutes, and yet the interesting thing is, by that point, it had been about 5 days. Something was keeping me there, and I didn't know what it was. Part of me, even if they were in their suits, wanted to introduce myself to them. Just I hadn't even contacted anyone there yet because I wasn't operative enough to contact them. But right when I was getting ready to leave after 30 minutes, I swear for the first time, my Fursona Sunray. By that point in time, my Fursona Ben had essentially realized that this was his chance to finally get out of my head. And this was his chance to, ironically, help me, the person that had created that Fursona. And so I just thought of him, what would he do? And he just flat out came back and said, I wouldn't give up. So I stayed in that bar, not for 30 minutes, but for 90 minutes, looking around because whether I would deny it or not, I really wanted to find these people. I really wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to show off how, even though I was only 5 or 6 weeks into admitting I was a furry and essentially being a furry, how I had watched all these videos and how I really wanted to get involved with the Rhode Island Furs. I wanted to show them this. I had this, and when they turned out to not be there, when the party ended up being only like 5 hours long, and I found out later that they were not, indeed, not in their fur suits. They were saving that for furball that night. I just don't know what washed over me, because the story is essentially that I did, on Telegram, one of my friends told me, oh, a lot of furs do use Telegram, and I had a Telegram from that game. I was like, it's time to repurpose that, so I changed my name from Okami to Sunray. I was using my friend's picture, and I did act. I don't know what happened. I just reached out to them and I said, hey, I'm interested in joining. And I had applied their Facebook group, and their leader, one of their leaders, did come out and contact me and question me. And I was like, I just basically told them what I just told you. It's like, I want to get out there more. I want to investigate this part of me, this like inner wolf I have, essentially. And I was let into the group, and I remember for the first couple hours, again, my autism hit me hard. I didn't know what to say, so I just took a step back. And again, when I was in the shower, I thought about, okay, what would Sunray do though? And I don't know. I introduced myself, and then I started talking in there confidently, and I honestly felt like they were kind of accepted and maybe a little suspicious, because I know how in these fandom it is so hard, so difficult to. I don't think they seem as suspicious anymore, and I'll explain why. Because I was, after the first couple of days, actively talking with them. Whenever I saw a moment to enter speech, it is so much easier for me in person. But whenever I saw maybe a moment where I could say something, I did. And by that point, I had actually even challenged myself to voice chat in the Finn the Panther Discord server. Like, I was leveling up. I wasn't saying too much, but I was voice chatting with certain people or in the general chat. And again, I was presenting myself as Sunray. Now, I knew that a lot of the furry, I knew by this point a lot of furry fandom did not identify as the anther animals. Like 90% of them don't actually identify as the animals. It was exactly a Fursona, a furry persona, so I was like, okay, that I can work with. And nobody IRL knows, like, my real identity by this point. Not really. I had actually made my Fursona, Sunray, a separate Facebook profile, his own fur affinity. The only thing right now that has a username similar to my real name is my Oculus account, which even then my display name is Sunray. And that was created a couple days ago.